We're joined by Dr. Zakir Hussain, former senior fellow at the Indian Council of World Affairs, and Dr. Shweta Singh, a political and policy analyst. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Zakir Hussain, first to you, comment on India's response, because right now it's a wait and watch situation to see what sort of shape the government eventually takes.
This is the right policy, I think, and we should not be much worried about, because over the period of time, much balancing forces will emerge where we will get to work with different factions as well as with Taliban. And much depend on the legitimacy of Taliban in international affairs. And now the role of US and European countries and NATO countries is very important, how they define the Taliban and their actions. On that basis, we should move in along with the international community. Though we have lost, we have stakes, but our stakes are not so that they are going to destroy our developmental activities. Because they also need that dam, road, bridges, education, capacity building. They want these things. And one thing is that if international donor agencies or World Bank, IMF are not going there to help Afghanistan, from where they will get money. Again, they will go to poppy culture, drug culture in that. And definitely Taliban does not want to go back to that period. And naturally, they need donors who can help them out, because $9 billion is in US control. So these are various issues which will force Taliban to reconsider their policies of re-engaging with the old allies. Now, of course, the situation and the formula and pattern will be different this time, but I don't think that Afghanistan or Taliban or whoever is coming to power or government, they can ignore India. Because we also know that Pakistan is there, but it is not in a position to help economically. China is there, but it is doing a resource diplomacy. It is giving aid, but in terms of getting their resources. Russia is there, but it is more of stabilizing and security nature. But in long term, sustaining the country, in long term, medium term, Afghanistan and Taliban need economic help. So India should not worry much. And in the coming days, I think that at least for 6 months, we should remain silent, and we should wait and watch.
All right, you think they'll have no choice but to involve India at some point. Dr. Shweta Singh, your views?
Yeah, actually, hi Gargi, I don't agree with your previous speaker. I think there are a couple of issues that the government is going to have to take a note of. One of those issues is human rights, especially for women and children. I don't think I don't think we should wait and watch on that. I don't think that's fair or ethical, given the global world we live in, and also because, we are part of the Indian subcontinent, we are part of South Asia. It is closer to us than it is to the US, and India is one of the major democracies in the region, and I think it can hold Afghanistan and the current government, or if you want to call it that, accountable. So that's part one. And then secondly, I don't think we can anticipate what they will do. Anyone who is going to look at the status as it's a brand new status.
We're waiting and watching, but going for, of course, human rights and the rights of women is a huge concern. But currently, India is remaining silent. We've said we're watching the situation unfold. We showed what Foreign Minister Jaishankar said, and said we're watching. He talked about the people of Afghanistan, the relationship that India has, and that is something that will guide us forward.
No, they will guide us forward, but we as a country, and I also think that Dr. Jaishankar is a very savvy person, so he's probably India does have a plan, I'm positive about it, but we can't presume that this is a point zero. This is not point zero, right? This has happened before. 2004 is when this new constitution came in, so we don't know what the constitution is going to look like moving forward. Whatever they had before, actually the 2004 constitution is 1964 constitution rehashed. So my point is, this is a very volatile situation. This is a very changing by the minute situation. There are going to be multiple players. Just because the US has pulled out its physical presence more or less, and policy-wise seems to have made a strong decision, does not mean that there is not going to be other players, or that the US is not going to be interested. My personal perspective is that there's going to be multiple players. They are going to be engaged, because at this point of time in 2021, right after the pandemic, right after this whole global effort towards coping, I don't think the world is going to bail on the people of Afghanistan so easily. I don't think so.
Right, Dr. Hussain, also, the UK envoy, his statement saying that UK and India have a prominent role to play, in the international community's response. And that is where we can work right now with the international community, keeping an eye and ensuring, that we demand that human rights and the protection of women be observed in Afghanistan.
Yes, this is what I am pointing, that we should cooperate with the international community and work with them, how they take Taliban, how Talibans behave in the coming, because when the mask of new Taliban is going down and when they are retreating back to their Taliban one period. And this will be much more to the world to witness, because economically they cannot sustain, politically they cannot sustain, they cannot prevent civil war. If they do excesses with their public, faction war will start there. So Afghanistan, saying this, that Taliban are going to stabilize Afghanistan at this stage is premature. Afghanistan needs a lot of time to stabilize, and for this it needs international cooperation, and India is indispensable for them because of being proximate to, because India was also trying to break Afghanistan landlocked position through Chabahar and all this, and bringing to the world and South Asian economy and Central Asian economy, and this will be giving the economic benefit to Afghanistan. If Taliban are going to, and I'm also definite that at the moment Pakistan, China and Russia is holding Taliban, but in the coming days that much hold will not exist. Taliban will try to become independent, seek autonomy to develop their country, to run their countries. If they are going to sit in the lap of these countries, then definitely world is not going to accept.
Right.
So these are various concerns we have to take into our consideration, and on that basis government should run. But the first priority right now is to protect the lives of our citizens and bring them back.
Right,
and in that too, I found that Taliban are cooperating and sending some positive signals, but not that much what we expect.
Right, the priority is to get the Indians out from there. Dr. Shweta Singh, a lot has been made about, the Taliban this time around, so to speak, or trying to play the optics, right, trying to show that perhaps they have changed, but already we've had some, incidents of firing and protests in Jalalabad. So what is your view of this?
My view is going to be a little bit an outlier view, but I don't think there's a single entity in the world at this point of time which has any kind of a public presence and doesn't have a propaganda management team. Nothing. Sure. And so what someone says, a communication, is no longer a benchmark of what they will actually do. Only actions are. And if you look at the most top players also, right, how has US is the world leader, how have they mapped out what they say they have done? Now, I think Taliban has that compulsion. I don't think it is going to be easy for it to have the practices from 96 to 2001, which is the time when, which was really, really terrifying for all the people there. So I hope that they are going to come through. But like I said, I think it's such a volatile situation. There is no government there. Their president has run away without, their armed forces gave away. So there is no compulsion. There is no compulsion that we can point out and say, this is the reason why they will behave. They have enough resources, natural resources, for them to last for a while. There are enough partners that they have in several nations that they could survive if they wanted to without changing anything about their internal domestic politics. So I think they are also playing to a couple of different angles. I think what we have seen, as lay people, is the outcome. We don't know what the process was behind this movement. It surprised you. It surprised all, people who are analysts. I'm sure it surprised the women based on how the journalists are reacting. If you look at their reactions, women from Afghanistan were so well connected. Right? I was reading how they are in tears because they're just so taken aback. So if these empowered people did not know what's happening, what are the odds that the people there know what is happening? I think this is going to play out, and I actually agree with the fact that we have to take a little bit of a backseat and see how it plays out, but I don't think it's going to play out in the timeline we are thinking. This is not a 6-month thing. Right. It's more like a few years down the line we will know what we're talking about.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And right now the focus...
One point yes. I want to make. Ghani's presence in Abu Dhabi shows that something is happening now. Abu Dhabi has given asylum, you can say that, yes. To Ghani. That means the Muslim world is also looking Taliban in a very different manner now. How they behave. These are various unfolding dynamics which will be very much obvious in the coming days.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You know,
Right
but
now
till
the
you get
focus-
the local actors in, we won't know. The local people, the local actors, the local policy making, that is going to be the only benchmark by which we can guess how much participation they get, how much voice they get, how
but
much
right
visibility
now,
they get.
the kind of visuals we're seeing, the desperation, trying to get to the airport, walking into Turkey, all those visuals are taking place, at the border as well. So that's the real worry, the humanitarian crisis. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
you.